So we were talking about the importance of testing and why we need to perform the testing of the application, right? In yesterday's session, major purpose of that application testing. Okay, why we need to test? The main criteria for the testing is to identify any defects or any bugs you have in the system, and then we need to make sure that those defects are fixed before we take it forward to the next instance or to the next level. Okay, so why we need to fix these defects? Because at the end of the day, we are working. Okay, we are working to make sure that the quality product is being delivered to the customers. That is the whole point which we are going to have. That is the main aim of the testing team. Yeah, we have to make sure that it is the quality product is being delivered and everything, each and every aspect as per the requirements. Okay, so we may have a question as up to what level we will be testing. Means it is the list of requirements that were captured and that were agreed upon. Okay, so those requirements, we are going to make sure that those requirements are tested and covered in the application. That is the whole purpose of the testing. Then only we are going to have the quality product that is being delivered or quality product that is being that is being delivered or developed. That's the whole point. And when we are going to use the testing, right? So it is, we don't care. Okay, we should not even worry much about who developed the application, whether it's my friend, okay, or my relative who developed this. We are not going to worry much about those things because we are going to have it as a application. Okay, application has to be tested properly and thoroughly. So, and as we were even discussing yesterday, like we are the gatekeepers here. Okay, it doesn't matter who is going to be there, but we have to make sure that all proper approvals and all proper testing is being performed. That is the whole point we are going to consider in case of the testing. That is our main aim here. Okay, and why it is important? Because for the users to give the qualitative product, we have to make sure that this everything is properly tested out. That is the main aim we are going to work on. And even we were talking about like the development team and the testing team go hand in hand. Yeah, so because you cannot be working in the silos, it is a together. This is as a team you need to work, development team as well as a testing team, only up to the point of only the product perspective, right? So, but in the product, when you are going to test it, we are not going to have any kind of maybe the right word or not. We are not going to have any mercy with anyone. Okay, we need to make sure that we have to test all the features of functionalities properly. There is a whole point we are going to have in case of the testing. And we were talking about the SDLC. The next point we were talking about the SDLC. SDLC is, it is called the software development life cycle. We are talking about 7 phases in the SDLC. We are going to have multiple phases. Okay, we just try to list it out as a 7 phases we were talking about. And what are the 7 phases we have? We were talking about the planning. The first phase we were talking about the project planning. And the second one is about the requirements we were talking about. And the third one is the design. So application design. And then the next phase would be the coding phase. And then the testing phase we have. And finally, and the deployment. And then finally, the maintenance phase we are going to have. So these are the phases we are going to have in the SDLC. The first phase is the planning. What is mean by planning? What is that we are going to develop? And the next one is what exactly we need in that particular application. Okay, like we need to build a car, but what needs to be there in the car is the second point. The requirement, the design, how it should look like. There is a design we are going to have. And the next phase would be the coding phase, because actual coding has to be done. The software application has to be written and the code has to be developed. So that is the next phase we have. And then it is a testing phase. This is where we are going to be playing more important role in the case of this testing. So software testing has to be done. What exactly we are going to have in the testing, and what are the features we are going to test, what kind of test we are going to have. Like we are talking about the unit testing, we were talking about our functional testing or integration testing. There are some more concepts like the smoke testing also is there, validation testing, like different kinds of concepts will be called here. So those are the features we're going to test in the testing. And then the deployment. After you say, okay, after our team certifies that it is working as per the agreed upon requirements, we are going to move the code into the live instance or is the production instance. That is where the actual users, users are going to start using that application. Okay, so that is where the deployment will be. That is where the deployment. And then during the process, there may be some errors that are identified. Okay, it is small things will be coming. It is not like everything is not perfect in one go. So we will be getting errors in the application, or we may be making some enhancements to the application. In the sense, we have a product that is built. Now we are going to add more features to that particular product. That is like the maintenance. So these are the phases which we are going to have in case of the software development life cycle. Okay, so this is what we covered yesterday, and now we will go and talk about this STLC. That is this particular phase we are going to talk here. Okay, STLC here. It is a testing phase, which we call it as a STLC, that is software testing life cycle. It is like a, so why, okay, just before even going further, why we are calling it as a SDLC? Okay, it is life cycle we are calling here. Okay, in this case, example, we are having these 7 phases we are talking. We originally planned an application, we captured the requirements, we designed it, we coded, testing, deployment, and maintenance is also, it is in a maintenance phase. Now, why we are calling it as a life cycle means during the maintenance phase, when there are some requirements which needs to be built again. So in that case, we are going to go back to the beginning again, and then we need to start about how much time it take, how the requirements, what are the requirements you have, okay, how much time it is going to take, and how it is, how many resources are required. That is where we start from the beginning again. So that is why it is called as a SDLC, like development life cycle. Likewise, here we'll call it as a testing life cycle, because we start with an application, we start testing that. Okay, after the complete iteration, now we may be going back, we have to go back to the beginning and then start testing again. That is why we call it as a STLC here. Okay, what are the phases we are going to have in the software testing life cycle? If you call the STLC, it is actually what is the definition we can give it to STLC? We can call that as a sequence of actions which we're going to perform. Okay, sequence of actions performed during testing or while testing, the sequence of actions performed during the testing to make sure the quality objectives are met. Okay, so the software quality objectives or the requirements are met here. That is what the meaning of STLC. Okay, it is a sequence, like one by one we are going to perform all the actions, and then why we are going to do that? It is a quality objectives are met. When we say quality objectives, what does it mean by quality objectives we have? Means like the requirement, when we are going to write the requirements during the development life cycle, we are going to have some sort of some steps or like some metrics which you are going to have, like saying that when we say the testing is completed, that case we are going to have some points that is listed out and saying that if you meet all this, which means the testing is complete. So that is a whole life cycle, which we are going to do. Make sure that we are going to have all those checks cleared, or all those checks are achieved or performed. So that is what we are going to have in case of the STLC. Now, in this, what are the steps? What is the sequence of actions we are going to perform here? The first one in this case is called the requirement analysis. Okay, and the second phase we are going to have the test planning. And the next one is called the test design. Likewise, environment we have. Execution will be there. Defect tracking. And the test reporting. So these are the 7 steps or the sequence of actions we are going to perform in the case of the life cycle. So what is mean by this? Let us just go in detail about each and every point here. In the case of requirement analysis, what is mean by requirement analysis? Here we have the requirements that is built, okay, and usually in case of this SDLC, when this particular planning is being performed, so what happens is someone from from most of the companies will include someone from the testing team to make sure that they are aware of this particular requirement. Some, let us say, depends on the company to company, but someone like a senior manager or director, they will be just sitting there to go over the requirements. Now, once everything is signed off from the requirement perspective, okay, including the test manager or including the senior manager, someone from the testing team, once they are met with this, now they are going to pass on that document, the requirement document, to the testing team. Now the testing team, they need to go for the requirement analysis. Like in a company, okay, a large scale company, let us say you have a team of developers, which is 10 members, and the testing team is 10 more members you have. Okay, and likewise you have business users will be there. Okay, all those during these meetings, right? It is not possible for to call everyone and then let all of them sit in a big conference room and talk about all this. So most of the companies, they have 1 or 2 representatives from all these teams, and then they get all those documents, and those documents will be passed on to the concerned departments or concerned teams. Now the person who is representing there, they are going to take it to their company, going to take it to their team, and they are going to talk more about that. It includes the development also. Coding also is the same concept. Okay, like using the testing is also the same concept they are going to have. When the deployment also, deployment manager will be there. Okay, like that. Maintenance, it will be again another team will be there, but usually maintenance doesn't come in the picture at this time during the initial phases. Now, here when you have it, now the testing team manager, okay, whoever was there in this particular meeting, they are going to get the document or requirements. Let us just put that way. And now it is being passed on to the testing team. Now he is going to analyze, he or she, when I say he, it doesn't mean that he, but he or she is going to look at the requirements, and they are going to analyze what is that they are asking and what is that they are going to develop and how we are going to test it. That they will just pass on to this other team, and then they will come up with the questionnaire, or let us say the planning there. Okay, they will ask, okay, so example in the document, right? They just give a very high level information. Now that we need to see how that particular requirements is going to be tested out. what is the plan you are going to have, what is the design you are going to have. So all this information is going to be discussed. That is where it is called the requirement analysis, or to put it in a way, like thorough understanding of the requirements need to be done, okay, by the testing team. That is where it is called as a requirement analysis. After the analysis is done, now they will be having the test planning. Like let us say you have a document, the requirements, which has, I'm just cooking up one number, 10-page requirements you have. For that 10-page requirement, now you will be having, because in the testing team, will be having a plan there to say that, okay, so this particular testing, how many days it is going to take, how many resources we are going to have. So all that information is going to be designed. Okay, so that is where we are going to have the test planning, when we are going to start, when we are going to end. Okay, so like that, the whole entire plan is required here for this analysis. And after this analysis is done, now the test design. When it comes to the test design, we are going to have how many test cases we are going to have. Okay, how we are going to perform the testing. Okay, how many test cases is the first question which you are going to see. And after the test cases, right, who is going to execute? So all that is going to be part of the test design. And then comes we will be, as I was mentioning at the beginning, we are going to have separate documents for each and every one, and we will be going through each and every document with each and every section we are going to cover. Okay, but this is at a very high level. We are going to talk about what is there in the STLC. Okay, and also I encourage, if you can just make these notes, that would be great. We'll be sharing that also from the group. But yeah, if possible, okay, we encourage to have that also noted if there is a provision for you. And the next one is the test environment. Okay, so this environment setup is the most important thing here. When you are going to test an application, okay, how we are going to test it, how we are going to simulate that. Some scenarios you need to simulate the environment. Like example, if you are working for a particular bank, example, okay, banking application you are going to have, and the test for you is to make sure that we are going to withdraw right amount from the ATM. Now, in that scenario, you cannot have an ATM directly built there. Okay, so in that scenario, initially to start with, you are going to simulate that environment to make sure all the scenarios are covered. And then finally, you are going to deploy that, and we are going to make sure that you are going to do the testing in the ATM also. Okay, similarly, medical equipment, or something like when you are going to have, when you go to Costco, Walmart, or any of these stores, right? You want to buy an item. What they generally do, they just scan it using the gun. Okay, so that particular one, to start with, we need to have that environment built. Okay, at some point, even for the testing team also, they need to give a small gun. Okay, 1 or 2 scenarios they need to test it out. So those particular environment has to be set. That is the test environment, how we are going to have. Okay, it is like the development instance you are going to test, or which environment you are going to have, whether you have the proper resources or not, you have the computer properly. Okay, so you have a proper computer or not. Okay, whether you are able to access the information, whether you are going to access the website properly or not. Okay, so those all scenarios that needs to be verified. Okay, like if you go to the big corporate application companies, right, whenever you are getting a new version of Windows, they are not just going to roll that Windows directly. For that, there will be a setup to make sure that all these applications are being accessed, okay, accessible from the new environment, new patches that is being given. Okay, because at the end of the day, there should not be any disruption to the business. That is what the whole purpose of the testing. So there will be a big lab. Usually big companies, they will be having a lab, and in the lab all people will be sitting. There is a separate team even for the testing, that one also. Okay, like you have a new Windows version, okay, or new patch is being deployed. Before deploying it into the production instance, they will make sure that this is actually tested. So you will be having a lab, they will test it, each and every application. Okay. The big corporate applications, even though you just try to use only one, but behind the scene, it may be 40 or 50 interfaces. When I say interface, it is connecting to those endpoints, other systems. Okay. And it is going to, we need to verify that all those are properly set up. So that is environment setup is also important. We talk more about the document when we come about all these sections when we come to that point. And after you have all this, you have done the analysis of now what needs to be, what is the requirement business is asking for, okay, and what is that is agreed upon for the testing, and then it is the test plan. And okay, so when I say requirements agreed upon, sometimes there may be bigger requirements, but depending on the timing when they are asking, how many days of time you have, okay, there will be negotiations between the development team and the testing team, okay, and even the higher management. Okay, we get these requirements, but because of the bandwidth you have, bandwidth, when we say, it may be the budgetary, it may be the people, okay, it may be environment. So all this, they just say that they'll negotiate. Okay, even though you have 60 requirements, we can do only 40 right now. These 20, we just put it as a second phase. Okay, like those kind of scenarios, they are going to come up with that. And after the teams agree upon all those, they start with the execution. Usually, in the case of the test execution, this is where we come up with the test plan, test cases. We are going to have a list of test cases. Okay. Yesterday, as I was showing one site, right? So in that site, we have like the registration, okay, example, or it is contact us a page when you are talking about. Now, in that case, first test case would be like, okay, make sure all are mandatory columns. Yes. And now the test is, what is that we are going to test? How to make sure that we just do not type anything and click on submit. In that case, it should give error. So like that, we are going to have the test case. Even let us say you want to log into Gmail. In that scenario, you do not give username, password, and click on sign in. What should happen there? So it should give an error. Okay, you need to provide one test case. Likewise, we just give only username, no password, submit, error. Like only password, no username, error. You gave the username, password, but both are wrong, error. Okay, like that, we need to test all those scenarios. Even just if you think of the testing, you can come up with approximately 10 scenarios just for the login where you have username, password, and submit. Only for those 3 boxes, you can come up with 10 different scenarios. Okay, that is where we are going to start executing that, okay, in the test cases scenarios. And then defect tracking. Okay, defect tracking is a scenario. Defect tracking is a process where you try to identify, you try to perform one activity or one testing, and that particular testing is not meeting the requirements which are provided. Okay, in that scenario, we are just trying to create a defect. And after you create the defect, whom we are going to assign? It is going to be assigned to the development team. Development team has to work, okay, and then they need to tell us, okay, so this particular fix is done. Okay, that scenario we are going to have under the defect tracking. Now for this, we were talking about 3 different tools yesterday, like Jira, ServiceNow is one of them we are going to have. Okay, and this is usually we just perform at the initial levels. And then sometimes, okay, some companies, right? So it is all depending on the company to company. They try to capture this in the HPQC, okay, Alert Backward Quality Center, okay, center, or ALM. We call it as Application Lifecycle Management nowadays. So that particular tool, that will be used generally during the UAT process for the quality compliance and for the sign-off purposes. Usually during the development, okay, so even people may or may not be using these tools, much of the system, okay, believe it or not, most of the things will happen in Excel in big corporations to the beginning. Okay, it doesn't make sense for the during the initial phases of the development to have something written in the Jira or ServiceNow and then send it. Okay, unless until it is a big compliance requirement. Usually in the development they don't have the compliance as it is internal to the organization, so they use the Excel. Okay, like they put everything in Excel, one of the team responsible person, okay, like they will be consolidating all the defects from like 10 people are there in the testing team. They consolidate all, for the evening they send it to the development team. Okay, and usually to the manager is going to assign, okay, this particular particular requirement was worked by so and so person, now send it to that particular person. Okay, like that they are going to use. Most of the cases Excel is the one that is being used. Okay, most of the scenarios. That is why even the companies also, when you are going to go for the testing, most of the time they ask for Excel and then some more features, something like they sometimes ask about the lookups, okay, pivot tables. So these kind of things they ask in the Excel. Okay, so they'll try to interview even on those concepts also, because that is more because most of the companies they try to use Excel there. And then it is a test reporting. This is what defect tracking is there, and also the test reporting. Test reporting is at the end. Okay, like you have completed the whole entire testing. Now you are going to say this is the number of test cases you have. Out of this number of test cases, we were actually performed the testing for this many test cases. And out of this, we have these applications that are developed. Okay, sorry, these are the defects raised. Okay, so like this is a percentage of testing done, and those scenarios we are going to finally provide that as a report. It is a test reporting is going to be done. Most of the companies, what they do is like example, okay, it is purely that hypothetical scenarios. Like in the requirement analysis, you come up with 10 requirements. Okay, example, we have 10 requirements and testing team perform the testing and then they say 8 passed and then 2 failed. They just give the testing. Okay, like the statistics, they give this detail. Now, what is going to happen is this is going to be taken up with the higher level management, and management is going to decide depending on this, because they might have spent some millions of dollars by the time at times. Okay, now they spent so much of time for the environment they spent, they have the consultants working, they have the employees working, they have so much of resources that are used. Now what is the severity of these things? Okay, depending on this, whether the business can run without these. Now they take it to the development team and then ask, okay, how much time it takes for you to build this. Okay, so those are different criteria they are going to have, and finally they just make it as go no go decision, it's called. Okay, like this is what they are going to perform, go no go decision, in the sense, yes, we are going to have it, we are going to roll this particular product or application, or no, we are going to wait for 1 more month or whatever the time period to make sure that these two failed are also fixed. Okay, this all comes under the test reporting, and it is for the higher level management to decide that. Okay, so that is why this whole entire STLC also makes a higher impact, or it is mostly that's one of the biggest activity that needs to be completed that needs to be performed in the companies. Okay, so clear, or any question, any confusion, or any comments like slow, speed, fast, whatever, or dead slow? Sometimes silence or no comment is a good one. Okay, we just
No,
take
I'm
it as
good.
we are taking it as a positive way. Okay, but as mentioned, anytime. Okay, so if you can't, if you have any feedback, okay, any feedback is positive feedback. Okay, so you can just always message to this number. Okay, in the WhatsApp, because we are in the different geographical areas, maybe so better to send a WhatsApp message, or okay, you just send a message to this email ID, and we are always tracking that email ID, and we will come back. Okay, you can always share any kind of feedback. Okay, feedback, good, bad. Okay, whatever you have it. Okay, that we just take every feedback as a positive way, and we'll try to uh, uh, make improvements from our side. Okay, and this is the topic we have, and then the next one we will be talking about the next one. Okay, 1 second, just 1 second, please. Yeah. Now we will be talking something about the manual testing. Okay, so just for this, let me open yesterday's application. Okay, okay. So manual testing. Okay, usually in the testing we can perform, or we will perform two things. One is called the manual or automation testing. Okay, when you say we automation, means it is like the scripts, when you are going to develop a script and perform that. Manual testing means one person is manually sitting and then clicking all the options. Okay, so human is going to click all the actions one by one. Okay, that is what is going to be the manual testing. Whereas in case of automation, what we are going to have is the script will be there. Okay, so we are going to execute the script to make sure that all the concepts, okay, to make sure the application is working. Okay, that is where we are going to use the automation testing. Most of the time, why we use the automation, it is for the regression testing perspective, we are going to use it. Most of the scenarios, automation is for the regression testing. Okay, we'll go in deep into that one now. So manual testing. What is this? What do you mean by manual testing? When you want to execute the test, right? So we will be writing all, because we know this is a requirement analysis we are going to perform. Okay, test planning, all this. Now during this particular phase, okay, test and execution. Okay, so how we are going to perform this in the manual testing. So let us say we are given the scenario, we are given this particular site for our testing. Okay, and the requirements analysis or the requirement document says, okay, you are going to test this document, or the requirement is to have these 4 tabs, and then 3 at the bottom links, you have it, and there is some social media link you are going to have. Okay, so this information we are having in the requirement document. And now also they say that whenever you go for the contact us, the email has to be sent to the right person. Okay, announcements. Okay, every day, but whenever there is a fresh announcement, that needs to be appearing in the announcement page. Likewise, about us. Okay, so there is some information that needs to be displayed, like there is a change in the administration, change in the management. Okay, like that, when our new team members are added. So at that particular time, if they're mentioning in the about us, so we need to get this. Likewise, home. Okay, that common information that is going to be displayed. And when it comes to this, there, that is what they just simply mention there. Now, when it comes to the testing team, they are going to have, okay, all this like requirements is there. Now the planning. Let us say for this particular site, okay, even though it just looks a simple one, okay, later we are going to have the register as well as login. Okay, so that is development team did not deliver yet, but in the requirement you have it. Now, when you have this information, okay, now we are going to have the planning. How many pages we have? Let us say 6 pages. How many team members you have? We have 2 members. Out of this, what are the pages? Who is going to test which page? Okay, so that information you are going to have. And now in the test execution or in the test cases, when you are going to write, okay, we write the first one. Okay, so open the site like this. Okay, open the site in the Google Chrome. Okay, that is one line we are going to have. Open the site in Google Chrome is a requirement. Okay, usually you are going to have four options you're going to have. What is the test case number? Okay, and then it is what is the scenario we are going to have, and then what is the actual result, expected result, and actual result, like this. So in this case, we have the first scenario we are going to have. Okay, so open the browser in Chrome. We say, okay, yes, sorry, open the site in not browser, right? Open the link or site in Chrome. Now the Chrome, whether it is opening properly or not. Now we can say, we can just record this, even though they may say, right? So from the testing team perspective, we need to cover the basis here. Okay, we need to say, okay, I just try to open that, and it says HTTPS is not a secure site. Okay, so whether they ask or not, we need to report that. Okay, like this is the test we are going to, this is what we are going to test. And then we open the site and then slowly click on each and every one, like this logo. Okay, when you just click on the logo, whether it is going back to the logo or not. Okay, like going back to the home page or not, like home page. Okay, when I just click on the home page, is there any JavaScript errors or is there any script errors you have it? Not only JavaScript, but usually some script errors will be there. Okay, is there anything observed here? Like this, you need to check that. Okay, and also whether it is all aligned properly or not. Like, see, if you see this box, even if you see on the left, you don't have space, whereas on the right, you have the space. Okay, this is what you need to report it as a observation, or this is called as a UA error. Okay, it is just like a visual error kind of stuff. Okay, it's not stopping any application or any problem here, but it is like you need to mention this is problem. Okay, like if they're okay, you can just report it. You have to report that. Okay, like different fonts is there. Okay, is it agreed upon font or you just have it like this? Example, like about us. Okay, so in this case, there is nothing in about us. Okay, like announcements, there is nothing in the announcement section. Okay, you need to report that. Like contact us, example. Okay, contact us when you are having, yes. Okay, you see all the mandatory columns. Okay, without giving any value, if you just click on submit, what is going to happen? Okay, it is going to, is it going to give any error or any other scenario which you are going to have? Okay, so like that, we need to report this. Okay, like here it is contact, whether it is, when you click on this, whether it is going to go to the email or not. Okay, these are all you are going to manually test it out. Okay, that is what is called as a manual testing, like for privacy policy. Okay, we have it. Okay, like now when I just click on back button, what is going to happen? Okay, like disclaimer, whether it is when you click on the back button. Okay, Like here it is YouTube, whether it is opening YouTube or not. Likewise, we need to test the scenarios. Okay, so all these scenarios which you're going to test it out in case of the manual testing. Now, when it comes to this automation, right? Now here the important feature comes with the automation. Okay, like in the case of this manual, again, we are going to have all these scenarios. I'm just explaining what we mean by the manual testing. Okay, as mentioned, okay, we will be starting with the test planning from the next sessions onwards. But yeah, we will be having this, we will write the requirement document ourselves for this site, and also we will come up with the test this one. Test planning, test design, all those we are going to write the document ourselves for these things. Now, after this is done, let us say I have all these features, okay, home, about us, announcements, and contact. Now, we are getting a requirement to say that, okay, I am going to have a new feature here, okay, something called as a support is a new functionality which I'm going to add, okay. So I'm going to add it as a new functionality, is a support. When you have something like this, new functionality, like I'm just going to call it as a support tab. In the support tab, when we are going to have it, so when we are adding a new tab as support, it doesn't mean that these functionalities should be changed. Okay. Now that is where we are going to test it. Okay. One option is that you can automate, you can check it all these one by one. Okay. In the application. Okay. Like manually, you can test it out, or you can go for the automation process where we are going to have a script to say that, yes, okay, I clicked on the home. Okay. I displayed that, and the script can send the emails. Okay. Home is working fine. Okay. There are no issues reported with home. About us, after this, okay, it is going to make sure, it is going to test it here, and also to make sure, okay, everything is correct. Everything when we say, okay, for that part, whether the page is opening properly or not, we are not talking about the content in it. Okay. Similarly, announcements. Okay. To what level of extent we need to write the coding, that all depends on the script we are going to write the code for that. Okay. And now likewise contact us. Okay, we have contact us, and when it is going to enter the details and submit, and then it is going to have the like support. Okay, when we are going to have the new column as support, new tab as support, it is going to click on that, and then to make sure that the support is also working fine. So because instead of spending time and resources for the existing 4 functionalities, we are going to rely on the automation, because there is one person every day when you are going to have it is tested, right? So even in the development also, because when you are going to have these changes, every day one person has to sit and manually do all this. It takes a long time. To avoid that, what we will be doing is we are going to have the automation script which will do the job for us and send the appropriate messages. Okay, so these are the features we are going to implement in case of the automation as well as in case of the manual. And for the automation perspective, we are going to cover, okay, in the automation perspective, we are going to have the tool. Okay, so and that particular one which we need to have it as a Java, we are just trying to have the Java as the tool. Okay, Java is a language which requires some basic knowledge of Java, as we are going to cover the basic scenarios in the case of this automation tool which we are going to learn. That is a Selenium is a tool which we are going to work. Also, we will just try to cover the other features which are in a couple of new tools are also there. So those tools we are going to cover in that particular case. Okay, so this is what we want to cover in today's session. Okay, if you have any questions or any concerns or comments, okay, you can please raise it, and we can discuss those topics.